Afternoon and welcome to the afternoon session of the Landmarks Preservation Commission's public hearing and public meeting of August 5th. We are resuming this afternoon with public hearing item number 4, and I will turn it over to our Director of Preservation, Corey Havala, to take us through the afternoon agenda items.
Thank you. And I do just want to read one item into the record before we resume. That was listed as public hearing item number 8 on the agenda, LPC 25-08899, 449 12th Street in the Park Slope Historic District Extension. Reading that into the record today to be presented at a future public hearing date. All right, we will resume with public hearing item number 4, LPC 25-12136. This is an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 123, Lot 7501. 2 Park Place, the Woolworth Building, individual and interior landmark. A neo-Gothic style office tower designed by Cass Gilbert and built in 1911-13. The application is to replace and modify windows, install louvers, and alter the tourelles.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Erin Ruley, Higgins, Quaysbarth and Partners. We are the preservation consultants for this project. I'm joined today by the design team from Bjarke Ingels Group and Heinches, the facade consultants. I'm going to walk you through the presentation, and then the whole team is available for discussion. So we are here to look at specific changes to the pinnacle of Woolworth. Here we see Woolworth building. As Corey mentioned, it's an individual landmark. Also, the lobby is designated. Constructed in 1911 to 1913, Cass Gilbert's Cathedral of Commerce that you used to be able to see from the former offices. We'd be able to look right at the scope from there. Today we're going to be looking at the uppermost portion of the building, the pinnacle, which is from the 49th floor up to the lantern to the 58th floor. As some of you might recall, the tower of the building was converted for residential use in 2013. There was a comprehensive commission approval at that time. And so what we're seeing in the photograph here is the extent of the area converted for residential. So from the 29th floor up to the lantern of the building, 29 are the sort of shoulders of the building. And so we see those here. The mansard roof was part of that, and then everything above was converted for residential. From 47 and below was fully developed with designed apartment units that were marketed and sold individually as condos. The pinnacle was treated somewhat differently. It was always kept as a kind of a raw space, understanding that the conditions here were very unique and that any owner would want their kind of specific vision for the space because it has really kind of unique configuration and spaces within. So the rehab, the conversion was from 2014 through maybe 2017. That unit was on the market and it never sold until very recently. So this is the first owner of the top of the building that's been vacant close to 20 years, I think, because at the time of the conversion, the building had the tower of the building had been vacant already for about 10 years. And so what we're looking at today is really a continuation of that adaptive reuse. Since there hadn't been planned spaces within the pinnacle itself, there are a lot of unique conditions, and this application is really a furtherance of those areas of the scope that were developed as part of the adaptive reuse project and then are now really kind of honed in and specified for the conditions at the pinnacle. As part of that project, there was a new residential entry introduced at the storefronts. This is all sort of new fabric designed by Terry Despont, and part of the scope was replacement with new simulated double hung windows at that time. They were for ADA compliance. They have the awning feature at the lower sash. Many of the openings were modified to allow for creation of doors onto terraces. There was restoration of the cresting and then new glazed railings behind it to accommodate code requirements. And then at the mansard roof at 29, it was kind of scooped out, and they created new penthouses within the mansards and punched opening skylights onto the mansard. And so that was all part of the original approval in 2013 to rehabilitate the tower of the building. Also, as part of that, there were modifications to all of the openings. This was a part of the approval for the openings in the lantern and the pinnacle itself. So this is all, the roof here is copper. It's been coated with a kind of a green elastomeric coating, but all of the windows are sort of set within dormers, copper dormer hoods. And so all of those windows were approved to be lengthened in order to achieve light and air, legal light and air for the lantern, the pinnacle itself. And so you can see this is the existing condition at the time of 2013. This slide is from the 2013 deck. And then the proposed is on the right. This is with the approved scheme, where all of the sills are just sort of dropped slightly in order to give larger windows in those spaces. These are sort of double, triple, quadruple height spaces within the pinnacle. Some of these were realized and some were not. Some of it was just kind of removed from the scope as the project was constructed. There were also 2 skylights added on each side as part of that approval, and this follows a sort of a pattern that Cass Gilbert had designed but never implemented at the building. And so the commission approved all of these changes, really kind of minor, maybe significant when you look at them in isolation, but this is all happening 50 stories above sidewalk level. So 600 feet away, none of this was perceptible from the public way at that time. And so what we're going to look at today, this is, again, the pinnacle unit. So we're talking about the 49th floor. So 49, 50, and 51. This is all part of the terracotta portion of the facade. Above 51 is the pinnacle itself, so that copper-clad roof structure, and then the lantern. And so the application today is really for changes to windows and then modifying the terrells so that there's passage and makes accessible use of the terraces around the space. So at 49 and then up at 53 here. So we're going to look at all of that in detail. Just to frame this for you, this is the iconic view of the east facade, so you understand how we experience the building in the skyline. So this is a normal eyes view from the street looking up to the pinnacle itself. Everything we're talking about is above this level here, and this is zoomed in. And so part of the proposal is for single light windows to be located in this portion of the facade. And it would be a unified treatment. We'll talk about the details of that. But I think as you can see in this kind of elevational photograph, the expression changes as you rise up the building. So with each setback, there's a slight design change. But at 49, we have the balcony, the projecting terracotta balcony, and then above that, the window pattern changes. You go to a much finer scale. The windows are paired, and they're about 2 feet wide. And so basically each pair represents the same kind of width as the bays below. They're very deeply recessed behind not just the terracotta screening, but also the setting back of the facade as it rises. And there's a very sort of slot window effect, vertical expression of these windows that when we look at the single light windows in this context, think it works very well in terms of the architectural expression, but also that there's a distinct treatment that is uniform around these floors would not be inconsistent with what's happening on the lower floors. Just to give you a sense of how we'll see this, this is the existing on the left and the proposed on the right. And this includes the single light windows and the modifications for louvers and at the terrells. So in terms of the existing windows in the building, there is a combination of treatments. At the base of the building, we have display windows and single light, large scale windows at the base and storefronts. As we rise up into the tower, this is the commercial portion of the building that was not part of the residential conversion. Those have double hung windows. They're a slightly older generation than those in the tower. We have simulated double hung windows at the tower currently, and then up at the lantern itself, there are single light windows and and spandrel glass throughout for different program functions when the building was converted. And so here's the sort of general approach to the windows. This is a twofold approach. One is because of the unique character of the space to be able to increase light and vision area within the openings. These are very sort of tall, narrow windows within the space. And this is all sort of occurring at the terracotta portion, this example, but it would be uniform throughout the entire unit. And then also creating a better performing thermal envelope. And so Heinches has worked very hard to create a stable environment for this unit. It's very unique. They can talk in detail about this. But the general approach is to replace the existing windows, which we see here. This is, again, in the terracotta portion of the facade with new single light windows. They would have, there would be an operable unit, and it's a combination of operable and fixed units. The change in profile and dimension in the windows, the current windows are about 4.5 inches thick at the jamb. This is significantly larger than what would have existed historically. These are retrofit windows. They're very chunky. We have a very chunky meeting rail because of the simulated double hung operation. And so the proposal really reduces the amount of kind of metal surface within the window to limit heat transfer. But it also comes closer to the historic configuration of the opening itself in terms of the dimension of the window framing. So we go down to about 2 inches for the operable unit and 1.25 for the fixed unit. As the sort of second part of that, the goal is to create an insulated layer within the pinnacle itself. That there's currently no insulation within the building, and moving the plane of the window back into the plane of the insulation to create a better thermal barrier. And so this results in about a 6-inch deviation from the plane of the existing windows. You can see here we have a very deep recess. This is just the masonry opening, so there's kind of layers of terracotta in front of this that we'll take a look at. But sliding it back, putting it into this plane, and then it would have a metal surround within the window that would cover the joint of the location of the former window. And that would all be treated with a stainless steel finish, again, very deeply recessed within the opening. This is more technical information, which we can jump into at the end if there are more questions. And then just to give you a sense of the depth that we're talking about, this is the balcony, the terracotta terrace, parapet at the terrace level. We're set back from the pier line. This is sort of the corner pier of the terracotta, about 20 inches. And then there's an additional 18 inches from the front of the terracotta mullion back to the windows. So there's deep shadow and recess within the openings themselves. And we don't believe that there would be any sort of perceptible change in terms of the new window system, sliding it back into the proposed plane. You can also see how chunky the existing windows are here in this location. So here, this is just an overview of the sort of treatment of each of the windows. All of the windows will have that same approach of the single light set within the plane of the insulation and minimizing the visible framing around, the exposed framing around the window. Turquoise or aqua is all just replacing with new standard the standard window approach. We have a couple of enlarged openings. The enlarged openings were all approved under the 2013 project, but were never executed. So that's kind of a rehashing of something that's already been approved previously. There's spandrel glass proposed in some locations. There's already existing spandrel glass. And this is primarily where the building elevators come up through the entire building. And so there's spandrel glass in specific locations as part of the overall conversion. And then we have a couple of louver relocations just based on the program, the planning changes in the interior of the space. So here's the treatment for the windows. We have the simulated double hung windows here within, this is 49 to 51, and then replacing them with the new single light casement and fixed windows. And then similarly, you can see the conditions up at the pinnacle with the dormers and those sort of deeply recessed windows, some of which had their sills dropped as part of that previous project. Here are those details that we just looked at. And I think this swatch of the stainless steel gives you a good sense of how the finish of the windows will really, because of the deep recess of the opening, it's really going to have a kind of shading effect, and it'll have a dark finish because it will be in shadow most of the time. Similarly, up at the pinnacle, moving to replacing all of the existing simulated double hung windows, which in these openings feels almost excessive because these openings are so small, and you have a lot of framing and a lot of dimension in the meeting rail. And so moving toward that single light window within those openings, and these windows will be have a patinated copper finish. The sleeve around the surround will also have that same finish so that it blends in with the surrounding coated copper roof. Again, here's that perspective, the existing on the left, proposed on the right. So we're looking at these windows and all of the windows up in the pinnacle itself. On the left, these are the windows on 49 to 51, so you can get a sense of what that looks like on the interior. This is the interior face of the wall, and all of the existing profile and sort of heft of the existing windows. And similarly, on the exterior, you can see how built up that framing system is within the terracotta opening, and then the depth of those mullions, something like 18 inches here, and then another foot back from the face of that last recess at the true masonry opening. There are a couple of kind of atypical conditions. On the north facade, we have three pairs of louvers in the existing condition running across that level, and then there is existing spandrel glass windows below that. And so the proposed change is to reduce the area of louvers, allow for windows to be, these are vision glass windows, and then spandrel glass surrounding that in those locations. And these are all sort of based on the actual plan for the unit itself as it's evolved. Existing windows on the west facade here, and then, which again, all those simulated double hungs, and then moving toward new just strictly window replacement with new vision glass with the new model window, and the inserting two louver locations at the 51st floor and at the 50th floor, but grouping them in that northernmost bay so that they're consolidated and not sort of scattered about. As part of the 2013 approval, there were window modifications where sills were dropped. These are located behind the Turrells here in these four locations. And all four locations were approved under the 2013 project, but only two were executed. And so the owner would like to extend the opening in that one location in the northeast Turrell. And again, that the new door infill would follow the model of the new window system. And here's it's sort of typical condition. This is a slide from the 2013 project where just showing the removal of sills and how those were accommodated. All of those systems had an integrated transom in it, which doesn't necessarily match the 1/1 configuration of the windows. And so the single pane solid panel door or solid glass door will probably be more consistent if it were visible, but it's not because it's way up here behind the Terrell. Moving up to the 53rd floor, similar condition. There are terracotta gables at the edge of the 53rd floor. All of these windows were approved to have their sills dropped so that there would be access to this maintenance terrace. This is not an occupied terrace, it's a maintenance roof. And right now there is no direct connection out from the interior to that maintenance roof. So you'd have to climb through the bottom of that double hung window, simulated double hung window, or suspend from the exterior of the building. And so again, dropping the sill down and with the new window system, this is all set back 3 feet from the terracotta parapet, which acts as a screening element in front of the window. So there's no visibility from the street level. There's an existing louver. This is sort of tucked away behind the Terrell. There's an existing louver here, and the proposal is to split that louver and create a sort of half glazed, half louvered opening. Also will not be visible. So louver will infill the right half, and then new glazed opening on the left, tucked back here behind the Terrell. And then a new louver proposed at the 53rd floor. It's right in here. So this is also behind the Terrell at the very base of the copper roof. It's 6 feet by 2 feet. It would be finished to match the surrounding roof material and also will not be visible. You can see it in the elevation here, packed, sort of tucked away behind the Terrell. So moving to the Terrells, historically, the Terrells marked the 4 corners of the pinnacle of the building. So starting at 49, the corner piers kind of stacked up and then were kind of fully realized at the top of the building. One of them was an open chimney for ventilation from below. That is no longer used in that way. In the 1980s, there was a really significant, the most significant restoration of the building. It's kind of a preservation laboratory. And because it was the first really large-scale terracotta restoration project for the building, but also really how they learned so much about the material itself and how it was married to the historic system and how to deal with it going forward. As part of that, the Terrells were beyond repair, and they made the decision not to restore them with terracotta. They were clad over in metal. From the street level, and this was the decision that was made, is that they finished them. They have a slight pattern to them. They were kind of an inspired version of what existed historically, but from the street level, you don't notice it. Unless you know what you're looking for, they appear as one would have assumed they did previously, but they remain there today. The underlying conditions, this is a probe on the right. All of the sort of exterior detailing and ribbing on the Terrells was gone. It was exposed, a combination of exposed steel and damaged terracotta cladding that remained. And then they strapped the system together, so it was secured, and then the cladding was attached to it. So this is sort of the underlying condition of just this part. It varies. Some areas do not have any terracotta underlying. And so the proposal here is to, in looking at the Terrells, they have fins that project around. They come within a foot of the building itself. And so in order to provide access around the 49th floor setback, the proposals to remove the two fins that come closest to the building. This is for an occupied terrace, but also for maintenance. Currently, you have to, in order for facade maintenance, you have to go out each of the terraces. You can't really communicate around them with equipment, and then they have to drop from the top of the building as well. So the proposal's taking off those two fins. You can see the existing condition here. This is the sort of obstructed pathway, and then cutting it back and using the pointed arch vocabulary of the building, kind of giving it an architectural treatment for the opening itself, and then allowing it clear passage, gives it, it's about a foot now. This is an additional foot to give you clear space around the terrace. And you can look at the existing conditions, so you can see how close that comes to the plane of the building and some of the existing conditions. And then the proposed treatment. So here's the existing condition, cutting it back. There's going to be a new steel angle. This will all be treated and fireproofed, and then clad over with material to match the existing metal cladding. And then finally, as part of the 2013 proposal, they had originally proposed to open up all the terrells in order to use them for ventilation for the project, but they did not proceed with that. And so the proposal today is to actually close off the one remaining open terrell. And it would be a matching system, metal cladding, metal panels between the ribs, and then it's no longer needed for ventilation, and so this would be matching the existing condition on the other three terrells themselves. And with that, that is the complete scope of work. I think much of what we talked about were changes that we believe would not be perceptible from the ground, much like the original approval in 2013, and that even though, and there would be a holistic treatment for the pinnacle itself all the way around with the new window system, but because of the architectural expression of those floors, I think differentiating from the floors below would not be something that would be perceived or in conflict with what we see elsewhere on the building. And happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. All right, commissioners, do we have questions on this one? Yes, Commissioner Chu.
Can you go to the one slide where that has a window and a louver that are split in the center?
Mm-hmm.
No, not the vertical one, the
Oh.
one split horizontally.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I think that was just in the rendered elevation.
Yes.
Here you go, right here.
Okay. So on this elevation, what was more of a consistent double hung window expression on the left in the proposal has now louvers on the left, top, and middle. Is that correct? Yes. And
Left, top, and
yeah, that there. So there's a half louver there,
louver in these two windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then below it is a full louver,
Yes.
and the rest are there's spandrel conditions.
No, these are all vision glass. These
All
windows.
vision.
Yes. The spandrel glass is on the north elevation.
Okay, so I guess the first question is, was there an attempt to not get that division up there in the upper left? Because that's the most evident.
Great. I'm going to ask Brian Harden from BIG to come up and talk to you a little bit.
What led you to that? Because I'm sure you didn't prefer this.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm an architect at the BRK Ingles Group. So this area in terms of plan, is kind of landlocked for how you have to route the louvers to. So that's really the best place to put them. And then there's like a back of house staff kitchen back there. So we did want to have sort of from 3 foot to 6 foot to keep that, that glass so that the occupants can look out.
So it's a result of their planning
Yeah.
revisions, renovations on the inside.
Yes, and it's right adjacent to the building's like elevator machine room on
Hmm.
the sort of northwest side. So we couldn't, unlike the northeast side where we could route behind a Terrell and go out there. That just wasn't something we could do over here because we'd be going through the building's
Hmm.
EMR.
Okay, and can you also go to the slide where that has the spandrel conditions?
Yeah.
This was explained that there's a shaft behind
Hmm.
some of the spandrel windows.
Yeah, it was always there because it's the building's like elevators
Okay,
that take you up to.
and that affects
29th.
which windows on this elevation?
Oh, oh. Oh my. So that affect the building elevator really affects these. And then with our renovation, we're actually able to kind of open these up to vision glass. It's vision glass and spandrel we're trying to keep as consistent as possible.
So the elevator is the right bay,
Correct. The
So
right
the-
two.
the
The
right
right
two
two
bays,
bays.
full right two bays, and the lower left is because of,
They had a duct running there, that building duct.
okay, can you explain the glass? Because it's ultimately what, the reason I'm asking is
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand what it looks like from a distance. And
Yeah.
Is it glass? Is it louver? Is it what, or is it both? And a spandrel condition is what? Is it a shadow box or is it, what is it, back painted glass? What do you
It's
think of
it's
that?
like a back painted glass.
A
on
back
the-
painted
The number
glass.
4 surface.
Okay. All right, thank
It's
you.
like a cool gray to kind of keep things as consistent as possible.
All right, I just want to follow up on that because I'm not
Yeah.
sure which ones are spandrel glass and which ones are clear glass. The red indicates that the commission previously approved spandrel glass for all 6 of those openings or 12 windows, right? Is that everything within the red box was approved to
Correct.
be spandrel glass? And what is changing in the proposed? Some
Um,
of it's becoming clear?
yeah.
Or
One.
So these two become vision glass, and then this former louver becomes vision glass.
Sorry.
And
which-
single
which two
light.
become vision glass? Sorry.
So there's actually four windows
Yeah.
that will become vision glass. 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4.
Okay, so,
And then these stay as louvers
okay, so it's removing louvers for clear glass and removing spandrel glass for
from,
clear glass.
from one
in
pair. Yeah.
Pair.
hmm
Okay,
And then
The rest
the
for
aesthetic
paint.
intent is to try to get that as closely matching as possible, recognizing that the elevator shaft is behind it. But the finish we'd work hard to get it close.
okay.
But- I had just one other question. In your detail, you explained the need and the desire to push the glass window plane back so that you can engage and straddle an interior fur out and insulation. I see that in your detail.
Mhm.
That exposes more terracotta in the jamb and sill and head, correct? And that
It
is
does.
fine. It's cleaned and that's okay. You've got all that material to slide it back.
Yeah, all that material is exposed finished material, and then
Mhm.
but the surround will come out to
Right.
where the location of the historic frame was. Because
Okay.
The historic frames are still embedded in that opening. And so once that comes out, the surround will be able to project out over that juncture.
Okay, and then this question is because, and you can help me clarify, because there's things happening in different openings. This you said in the very beginning was a standard detail
Yes.
in approach for insulation, and energy and wall assembly. Is that datum set in different areas of the building? There's different datums for where glazing starts, and that was very clearly standardized in the original building design. So when you look up, I can see glass reflection. That only tells me where the glass is because it's so high up there. These are all set so that they're in line with each other, and that glass plane will feel like something behind the terracotta is a singular plane. It won't step around.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Everything
Okay.
will be in the same plane and it'll be
Okay.
unified for the whole in the round, right? It's everything at 49, 50, 51, and then the pinnacle itself.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Goldblum?
All right, can you go to the north elevation?
I promise I'll get there.
It, okay,
Mhm.
great. All right, I'm looking at the, all right, according to the line drawing that's in the appendix, it looks like the louver on the top, the louver, the two windows, the two louvered windows on the top right have a meeting rail across them. Is that the case?
Don't believe they do. It might be an error in the drawing.
Okay. And do you have any visibility mock-ups, renderings for what this looks like apart from the main facade for the other facades?
Just the renders were only done for this front corner,
Uh-huh.
but we have let's see, the overall elevation. Let me get to it. That was primarily focused on the door changes and the louvers, let's see. This view. But it's not rendered in.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
All right, Commissioner Mann?
I have a question about the typical window section detail that Commissioner Chu asking about. I had the same question as he did, that when you move the plane of the glaze, there's exposed material revealed, or I thought there was, and I
Mhm.
think the drawing illustrates that there would be,
There
but
would
I
be. Mhm.
understood you to state that the new stainless steel trim would cover the exposed material. So that statement is at odds with what this drawing shows.
It's a little bit of both. So the existing window frame, where there's the original window frame that's sunken into the wall, and then the existing windows are sitting within that, and then there's panning out that extends and has the implied brick mold on the exterior. And so there is material currently covered by the existing windows that would be exposed as part of this. The surround will come out to the point where the existing original frame is within the wall.
Okay.
And so we did probes in 2013. We know what sort of the typical condition is, but once the conditions are revealed, we'll be able to tell. I know that there's a lot of sort of caulking and stuff within the opening. But it might be that the terracotta needs to be glazed, or glazing repairs or something, because it's not been exposed. But there will be, what we believe the result will be added exposed terracotta, and then the surround will cover the joint where the window was inserted.
Thank you. And why was stainless steel chosen?
I think that it was chosen both as a window finish for the windows for durability's sake, but also this very small amount of surround, which we're trying to minimize to both match the window and also for its properties. Whenever it's sunken back in shadow, it takes on kind of that more dark quality, all the while being like an actual metal material.
All right, any other questions? All right, we'll move to public testimony. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak on this item? Noting that there isn't, I will turn it over to Stephen Thompson to see if we have any remote participants.
Those joining us via Zoom who wish to offer testimony, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I will note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 1 recommends approval.
Right, so the testimony is supportive. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we move to our discussion? Any final comments?
I think just briefly that in the 2013 approval, there were, it was acknowledging that this was an adaptive reuse project and that changes were needed to be able to accommodate the new residential use within the building, and that no one has ever figured out how to make this space work before. And it wasn't part of what was planned for. And so it's kind of working, I think there was an effort to sort of acknowledge that there are performance needs for this space. It's very high up, it's fully exposed. And we know more now than we did 10 plus years ago. And there's an interest in having both a envelope that performs, but also makes it a livable space for the owner. And that kind of following those patterns, keeping the spandrel glass on the facade where the spandrel glass had been located previously, modifying the existing locations where there were louvers and where we needed extra for plan considerations, trying our best to minimize them or group them together. So I think following that model, but really just honing in on the specifics of the needs for this part of the building, which is extensive. It's a amazing piece of the building, and it's very exciting that someone's going to live in it and activate it when it's not been activated for so long. And I think that it's a uniform treatment that is really going to be imperceptible from the street level, and that you have someone that's going to be kind of living up close and personal with the facade in a way that doesn't happen on the lower floors. And I think that that's a really important aspect of the future of the building and stewardship.
Right, thank you. Commissioners, any final questions? All right, let's move to our discussion. Vice Chair Master, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Quembe, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the hearing is closed and we're looking at some changes at the top of the Woolworth building. And as we've heard, this portion, the whole top portion above the base was converted to residential use in 2013 and pursuant to approvals by this commission, which included approvals for dropping sills, doing simulated double hung windows, louvers, spandrel glass, and providing access to terraces. And so this application is specifically for the Pinnacle, and I think many of the components of this application are really in spirit with the work that we approved in the original application in 2013, but with some modifications. And those include going from the double hung to the single light windows, shifting locations of the louvers and the spandrels, and selectively also modifying openings in non-visible locations. And I would say that, as has also been mentioned, that the original approval really did focus on the perceptibility of these changes from the street. And so while dropping some sills and modifying some openings, those portions of those openings were not visible at all from the street. But where there were changes approved to windows that you could see, I think the commission found it very persuasive that it was such a great distance that it was not really perceptible, and it furthered the adaptive reuse of the building and found those changes to be appropriate. So I just provide that context as we think about the proposal today and and that could inform how your discussion goes. Commissioner Mayan, would you start this one?
Sure. Pleasure. What an opportunity for this whole team and the commission as well to discuss such a significant landmark in the city. One that continues, thankfully, to be vibrant, and I understand this and to be an effort to extend its use and to extend that livening of this landmark. The point that no one has figured out how to do this for some time, and that this is ultimately an adaptive reuse project, I think is a great one, and one for the commission to support and to applaud. Generally, I find the proposals to be sensitive. There are couple little subtle design moves here and there that, like the choice of the stainless steel that aren't, perhaps strictly what we might imagine to be storing it to something that was once there, but that I find nonetheless, acceptable, particularly given the configuration of the window opening relative to the surrounding terracotta and masonry, and certainly given the distance from the public. I find the configuration of spandrel vision and louver to be acceptable, and to move these things around within sort of deep set openings to accommodate changing interior configuration and even existing configuration that doesn't appear to align, often cases originally didn't align with the exterior expression, so I find that to be okay. I find the narrow styles to be very likely more aligned with the original condition. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I even find the sort of single pane probably acceptable given the distance and given the treatment consistently around the 360-degree perimeter of this particular tier. I think the tiered nature of this building gives you a unique opportunity for that. That case it might not otherwise be acceptable. I think those are really the big issues. The other things like creating access around the perimeter of the terrace or are all fine, and the secondary level of significance. I'm curious to hear what the other commissioners. One over one window. That's where I stand, though.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, interesting comments, and I think this is truly a remarkable building. I'm glad we're looking at this section rather than on the ground floor retail section. I remember the first time I was given the tour by my professor, and he said, "Imagine, Wellington, I'm asking you to do the working detail for all these motifs," and we were all in horror. The amount of ornate detail that's on the lobby, which is amazing. So I'm in agreement with Commissioner Mann. I don't think he's in the minority. I think in this case, given the verticality and the height and the distance from the public viewing, I think the applicant actually is doing the right proportion by doing, I don't think the 101, I think I can find it acceptable here. And I think that in general, this is a very creative, adaptive reuse. I'm glad that the top of the building is finally being put to use. And I even find that the creating access to the perimeter for the 360 is actually quite practical, and so I can find it acceptable.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Goldblum.
I agree. I think that the fact that the pinnacle of the tower is separated by a very strong horizontal setback and belt course, and the fact that the proportions of the windows are not the same as the proportions of the windows for the majority of the shaft below, allows for a different treatment to the windows in the tower, and the removal of the double hung or the simulated double hung appearance. I'm a little concerned about the facades where the spandrel, louver, and transparent windows are all going to coexist from the perspective of how that might look. I think that the staff can work with that and make sure that from a distance the appearance is the right one. A lot of details around the decisions there. What is the color of the spandrel glass? What is the color of the louver? That kind of thing can all affect the success of those facades, and they're quite visible. So I think it's important that the applicant work with the staff to make sure that the intended uniform effect is brought through in reality. I think that the work proposed for the Tyrrells and the other modifications that are relatively hard to see are totally fine. I mean, the one thing that kind of made me think a little bit about it is that, in a way, the fact that the building is so tall allows it to be thought of or treated at the commission in a different way than a lower building might be. Is that the right thing to do? Is that fair? I'm not sure, but I think it is. But it's certainly something to think about. We wouldn't let it happen on a 13-story building, where you could definitely see that meeting rail. But the fact that you don't here, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, well, I think because a lot of what we do is about looking at how visible or perceptible something is. And I think also we might do it in a 13th floor if there's a completely different architectural expression at the top floor or something. So
Right.
given that there is that kind of different treatment at this top floor, I think that also makes it sort of more consistent with what we might do elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of the counter argument to that is the design intent as irrespective of visibility, which we sometimes consider as well, but I think here, because of the factors that I talked about, I think it's okay to treat it differently.
Okay, Vice Chair Master.
Yeah, I want to say how wonderful it is that after being vacant for, I guess, over 20 years, that this is being finally purchased and converted into a residence. So all of these changes, a lot of these changes actually had been approved, I guess, previously by the commission. But I think that these changes are very necessary and are imperceptible from the street level. And I just want to echo everything that Commissioner Mahan said, because he was very eloquent. So I can find this appropriate.
All right, Commissioner Quimby.
Likewise, I think the moves are actually very subtle, and they're in alignment with the building itself. As was stated before, just this portion of the building it's kind of its own. It has its own mini language in itself. So I do find it appropriate. And
All right, Commissioner Chu.
Yeah, I think that in general, I'm in alignment with my fellow commissioners. I think for the most part, everything being proposed is very minimally visible. All the work on the Tyrrells I'm okay with. The only thing that bothers me, and had pointed it out initially was the horizontal division of this image on the upper left, because I support a single light approach holistically, but then when you do this, you're countering your own move, and that hurts me. And I would rather you've done a full height louver next to a vision window and not split it in half, because it then makes me want you to go back to the center split and make that continuous around the top floor, or make a rationale for the design move that you're proposing and don't counter your own design move. That's what I feel like this does. But because it is minimal and I don't think there would be a huge attention seen here, I think I can approve this. But I do want to note the biggest difference we're going to see is the difference of light reflection from glass to louver, and that will be the most evident thing that I see here. So I will point out that I would prefer a full height version of this, but I think my vote may not make any difference here.
Okay, but they can certainly, I think, continue to explore that, whether it can do a full height in
Right.
one of the windows. Commissioner Wilder?
Yeah, I kind of agree with the full height window. I think this image here is like a perfect representation of the pressures of trying to unify everything on this project, and I think you guys did a good job of responding to the functional needs of the interior space to make it a adaptive reuse project. But yeah, it's a lot going on, and obviously we have the advantage of looking at this zoomed in, and it probably won't be visible from street level. So yeah, I think I'm kind of agreement with the rest of the points that were made. So yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think we have enough to support it. We can ask that they continue to explore that louver at the top floor in this image to see if it can be full height. But that, I think, will be an exploration, and otherwise we'll approve it today as presented. So
Can I make one more comment? I think that Frank's comment about the color is also very valid, and if the staff could work with the applicant on,
We can ask.
because you can get darkened stainless steel, that's something we do all the time. It doesn't mean stainless steel has to be shiny.
Yeah, and I think we can do staff, do the approval conditioned on the staff's review and approval of final finish samples.
Regarding LPC 25-12136, 2 Park Place, Woolworth Building Individual and Interior Landmark, a neo-Gothic style office tower designed by Cass Gilbert and built in 1911 to 1913. Application is to replace and modify windows, install louvers, and alter the terrelles. I recommend approval, finding that due to the height of the pinnacle above street level, much of the work. Did I do that right? I did.
That's good.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. I recommend approval, finding that due to the height of the pinnacle above street level, much of the work will not be visible or will only be minimally perceptible from public thoroughfares, that many of the windows are set back within the masonry openings or partially concealed by dormers, and that the replacement windows will be set further back from the existing plane. Therefore, the change in configuration, material, and finish at many of the windows will not be easily noticed from public thoroughfares. That the proposed window enlargements will only require the removal of a small amount of terracotta, and that these modifications will not be visible from public thoroughfares. That the louver within the copper mansard will be installed flush and finished to blend with the roof, and will be partially concealed by existing architectural features and therefore will not call undue attention to itself. That the proposed louvers and spandrel glass within window openings will be in keeping with the existing installations at the pinnacle and will not detract from the building. That the modifications to the non-historic metal-clad fins at the terrelles will help facilitate better access at the terraces and will not be visible from public thoroughfares. And that the proposed louvers and metal panels at the terrelles will match other existing conditions and will restore visual symmetry to the top of the building. The applicant will work with staff to refine the details among and between the louvers, vision glass, and spandrel glass areas with regards to configuration and final finish selection to ensure the intended uniform effect.
All right, Commissioner Wilder, would you second that motion?
A second.
Mark?
Clerk Carroll,
Aye.
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Quentway,
Aye.
Mahan,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder.
Aye.
8 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
Thank you, and we'll move to the next item.
Next item is public hearing item number 5, LPC 25-11714. An application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 539, Lot 35, 155 Bleecker Street, aka 203 to 205 Thompson Street in the South Village Historic District. This is an altered federal Greek revival style row house built in 1835, and the application is to install artificial floral garlands and urns and to legalize the installation of signage and light fixtures.
Okay, Commissioners, the applicant has entered the hearing via Zoom. Enrique, you do have control of the presentation. Please state your name for the record and you may begin.
Hello, this is Enrique Altamirano on behalf of Little Hen. We are a breakfast and brunch restaurant, opened a year ago. Very happy to be part of the community. We are located in the corner of Bleecker and Thompson. Here you can see how the space looked in the 40s. And below you can see a picture of how it looks today. What we're proposing today, it's a non-invasive, reversible artificial floor installation, as well as the legalization for painted signage and pre-existent light fixtures in the space. We're showing right now some pictures of the current conditions. You can see both facades, one at the Bleecker Street side on the right, and you can see the Thompson facade on the lower left corner picture. These are the current conditions, and this is the building where you can see the intersection. So this is what we're proposing. The key facts would be that it's a landmark safe installation, so there's no drilling, no penetration, no permanent alterations to the building in any way. As we mentioned before, it's fully reversible. We hired Floratorium, which is a New York-based company with lots of experience, including sites like the St. Patrick's Cathedral. We worked with them in the past in other locations that we have in other cities, and we're very comfortable with their work, the quality, and how they perform their job. The mounting is discrete. We will use concrete field planters, and we are using, if needed, minimal suction cups that be used on the windows. That either way wouldn't leave any marks or residue. Here in the next slide, I'm going to show. So this is how the sidewalk. Those are the measurements, and the blue marks are the concrete fields, planters, urns that we're going to use. So it doesn't affect in any way with the traffic or anything with the building. That's for the floral installation. And as for the pre-existing light fixtures in the building, those are the ones on both sides below the painting, the sign painting. We are proposing to paint these in the same color of the facade so they don't stand out. And as far as the signing, this is hand painted, and so it's the same measurements on both sides. It's 21 inches height, 102.7 width, and it's the same on both sides. And we have on the corner the little hen, which is part of the brand. It's 25 by 24. And lastly, I'm showing here images of an approved floor installation that is similar to what we're proposing at 98 Thompson Street. The commissioners approved this proposal on May 6 of 25, and below you can see the permit number and certificate of appropriateness. So it's not very different than that, and we just wanted to show that. So I tried to make it as brief as possible. I've been hearing part of the presentations, and so I wanted to make it brief. But basically, this is it.
All right, thank you. So do we have any questions on this? It's the sign, the light fixture underneath the sign, which is proposed to be painted to match the sign panel, and then the garland that is rooted in these concrete-filled planters. And
Just to clarify, the planting is real?
No, everything is artificial.
Oh, it's not.
Yes, everything is artificial.
Okay.
Yes.
And what you're saying is that the light fixture, that horizontal, will be painted blue like the backdrop and not
Correct.
the
We're
existing-
proposing, yes, exactly. So those are existing, are in gold. We believe that probably if we paint it in blue, it would be much better with the facade.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
all right, any other questions? Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak on this item? Okay, noting that there isn't, I will turn it over to Stephen Thompson to see if we have any remote participants.
Participants joining via Zoom who wish to offer testimony, please use the raise hand function. Right, seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 2 recommends mixed approval, including denial of the potted floral installation, approval of the sign, and approval of the lighting provided as painted blue to blend with the sign, and that the commissioner staff verifies the technical specifications to ensure that the level of the lighting is minimal and not disruptive.
Okay, thank you. And, just before I turn to you to see if you'd like to respond, I will note that we don't, as a commission, really look at the quality of the light. So I know that was one of the recommendations by the community board, is to make sure that the light is muted, but we don't historically, we haven't enforced that, and we don't regulate that. Did you want to respond to their comments about the garland?
Me, Enrique?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, so what were the comments? Probably I missed that part, sorry.
So I think we just read the community board's resolution, and they support the work but have concerns about the garland and the concrete planters.
And what are their concerns? That is it the quality of the installation, or is it the aesthetics?
I think, were you at the community board? Was there a discussion when you were at the community board? You might be able to enlighten us a little bit more about the discussion.
Yeah, well, basically, and at that point, they just want to make sure, and that's why yes, thank you. I perfectly remember what was the point. They were concerned about the planters, the basements, what were the measurements and the height. So that's what we included on the presentation, the measurements and the diameter of those bases, and the plan that shows how it does not affect in any way the traffic or the walk path of people on the street. So especially since we don't have any tables or anything else, no service outside, so it really doesn't affect with anything. And so I think that they will be okay with this. And as far as aesthetics, they want to make sure that the planters were not higher than the that cover part of the windows. So we make sure that that doesn't happen, that those planters are going to be lower than the actual, it's not going to cover any part of the windows. And I believe that was the only concern that they have.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any final questions on this one? All right, let's close the hearing and begin our discussion. Commissioner Goldblum, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Mann. Would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this is a proposal to install signage at the sign band, which is just slightly taller than would be eligible for staff level approval, and that's why it's before us today. Otherwise, it would meet the rules. The existing light fixtures beneath the signs, the applicant is proposing to, they were pre-existing, and the applicant is proposing to paint them to blend in with the storefront and sign band. And then they're proposing the garland, which would be attached to the storefront with suction cups and then mounted into these planter urns at the base. And I think we heard that the community board had concerns about their size. The applicant, it sounds like, has reduced the size of those planters since the community board in response to that concern. So we'll begin our discussion. And I also will point out that the applicant did present another storefront in the village where the commission recently approved Garland because of its reversible nature. So Commissioner Ikwembe, would you start this one?
Sure. I guess overall, the dealing with the signage and the illumination of it, I guess I don't find an issue with changing the color. It actually will make it blend in more to the existing. I appreciate the explanation of taking care of what the concerns community board actually had. So seeing that in the reduction of the size of the planters, also ensuring that their placement is out of the way or out of the walkway, more or less. And the fact that it's reversible and it can easily be taken down or moved or whatever needed to happen. Also noting that the materials themselves, they're fire resistant and things of that nature. So safety has also been implemented into the thought of this installation. So based on that, I can find it acceptable.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice Chair Master.
Yeah, I agree. Also, restaurants typically do have things like this, these floral installations. It's very typical of restaurants. And, we do have one kind of around the corner that we had approved. So it's definitely appropriate.
Commissioner Goldblum,
I agree, it's appropriate.
Commissioner Mann,
I find it's appropriate.
Commissioner Wilder,
I think it's appropriate.
Commissioner Chu.
Agreed.
All right,
Appropriate.
I think we can make a motion to approve this one. Commissioner Coimbe, would you read the motion?
Yes. All right, in the matter of LPC 25-11714 or 155 Bleecker Street, AKA 203-205 Thompson Street, South Village Historical District. This application is to install artificial floral garlands and urns and to legalize the installation of signage and light fixtures. I note that the building style, scale, materials, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the South Village Historic District. I recommend that the work will not damage or eliminate any significant architectural features, that the decorative floral garlands and urns will be installed at storefront infill and will be easily reversible and will not obscure views of the corner, cast iron piers, or other significant architectural features. That the placement, scale, and minimum attachments of the garlands and urns will help them to be seen as ephemeral decorations set on and in front of the storefront, separate from the solidity of the building, massing, and subordinate to the historic facades of the building. That the painted sign is well scaled to the sign band and its thin line weight and natural finish mitigate the impact of the tall height of the logo and select letters. That the light fixtures are simply designed and compatible with the signage and placement and length and will be finished to blend with the color of the signboard. And that the work does not and will not detract from the special architectural and historic character of the South Village Historic District.
And Vice Chair Master, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll,
Aye.
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen, oh, sorry, Commissioner Chu,
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner Goldblum,
Aye.
Commissioner Quembe,
Aye.
Commissioner Mahan,
Aye.
Chair Wilder.
Aye.
7 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
All right. That's approved. Thank you. And we'll move to the next item.
Thank you.
All right, next item is public hearing item number 6, LPC 24-11367. An application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 459, Lot 29, 82 East 4th Street in the East Village, Lower East Side Historic District. This is a Romanesque Revival style apartment building designed by Charles B. Myers and built in 1926. And the application is to install a marquee with signage and replace entrance infill.
Hello, everyone. I'm Subhagini an architect from Studio Castellano. I'm here today presenting 82 East 4th, which was built in 1926, which resides in the historic district of East Village and Lower East Side in the borough of Manhattan. The new group wanted to do restoration of the storefront, which was divided in 2 phases. The first one was the restoration of the transom windows, creating new cast iron spindles, and the glass door, which has been completed currently. And the second one, which I'm presenting here today, is the new marquee. The proposal of a new marquee, a new door, and the transom window on top. It was done in collaboration with preservationist Kerry Culhane. 82 East 4th sits between Bowery and 2nd Ave, and it has been known, the street has been known for its theater district and cultural venues. I do want to point out that it is not a corner building, but it's an L-shaped building. That's the only tax photo which we found from the 1949. It had the certification of occupancy in 1927 as a cabaret, which is performance on stages, and in 1950s as the biggest drag performance stage for the place, and it was called as 82 Club. And in the 1970s, it continued the legacy of the drag shows along with punk rock and live music. Just a zoom in of the photo and the storefront that I want to point out. And towards the left is the proposed, the historic marquee, which we've taken cues on to inform our design. The existing current conditions of the site on the right is the phase 1 of the project, which has been completed, and on the left is the current conditions of the doorway and the archway. We noticed the historical impressions and elements on the building of where the historic marquee was placed, how damaged the limestone capitals and their detailings were, and the granite base. Also noticed the conditions of the door and noticed that it had brass molding detail on the frames. And we proposed on repatching and repainting the brick facade, and also proposing a new marquee matching to the historic as closely as possible, and keeping the opening size of the door the same, and proposing a new transom window on top. A transom window with the glazed glass for light to let into the foyer, and also a door panel with glass, which would be in metal cladded in brass, along with the signage, which would be painted closest to the color with the patinaed brass that we'd be using on the frames and as cladding. Patchwork on the historical capital details and the granite base. On top is the proposed marquee, which would be painted in the brass finish closest to the patina brass that we chose all along the design. And it would have a base of metal, which would be painted in dark gray, along with lettering, which would be temporary and non-lit, and could be mounted on it magnetically. Just a plan of the existing and the proposed conditions that the opening size remains the same, and we want to follow the symmetry of the historical design. On going back and forth with Robert, the design also includes, the design also includes of decorative tiebacks. We found existing anchors on the building, and going back and forth with Robert, we realized the design would look nicer if centered along with the symmetry of the arch. So we decided to only move the right anchor about approximately 4 3/4 inch, and just propose structural penetrations for the marquee itself. I also do want to point out there's an existing drain on the building, which we've used in our building to incorporate a gutter on the marquee. The decorative tiebacks would be held on to the structure of the marquee. And we wanted minimal light and did not want the whole canopy to illuminate a lot. So we incorporated downlight on the structure of the marquee itself. Just a detail of the framing plan of how the downlights would be, and a close-up detail of it. An overall detail of the marquee and what the material would be, just to point out here quickly, we'd be following the same molding detail, how it is on the door. For the brass, the ball would be in polished in brass as well, matching the same as the door color. The transom detail which would be in glass, along with the same framing detail, door detail, and a jamb detail as well. We'd be using patina brass, which would be completely natural, no polish. Just a lighting spec, we'd be using downlights, and the temporary lettering which would be applied. I do want to point out that it's only the black part and not the plastic behind it. Just some cues that we took from the presidents around the district. 129 East 7th is still intact, and just looked at how the tiebacks and the lettering around the district was done. Just a render of our proposed design, which we've tried our best to match with the historical colors and cues. I do want to point out that it is dark, instead of being white, which we usually see. It is dark because we didn't want it to be a statement piece on the building, and also that the operations would not be changing the lettering a lot. So we wanted to have minimal light and not be disrupted to the entire street. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Wilder.
What went into the thought process of determining, I know you talked about the tiebacks, but the height of the bottom of the marquee, and more so, I didn't see this one at first, the left image, but on the right, being able to see the full arch of the opening. What were you guys thinking in that?
We focused on the impressions and the historic elements that we found on the existing drawings, and that's how we decided to where we want to place the new marquee as well. So that's what guided our design intent.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Chu. The tax
Oh,
photo.
Hard to tell from that tax photo.
But you said there was some evidence in the brick of.
Yeah,
the
right there. So the black thing that you see,
Mhm.
this is a tie beam structure which goes behind it. Sorry, a beam structure which goes behind it. So these are the penetrations of the existing or the previous marquee. So we took cues from what there was on the conditions currently.
And was that marquee original to the building, or was that an added element? Do we know?
I
It looks added to me. Yeah.
Like, I think as these buildings started to accommodate these cultural
Different
uses,
use.
they were adaptively reused. And
Right.
these marquees were added to them
Okay.
in many cases.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's see if we have any testimony. I know we do have, we have Jeremy Woodoff.
Jeremy Woodoff for the Victorian Society, New York. We are very happy to support this proposal. Based on the historic photos, the work appears to be very close to the definition of restorative. The installation of the new marquee will conceal ugly scars left by the removal of the original or early one. It will include restoration of the historic door surround. The new doors are nicely scaled and detailed, and it seems a very appropriate project for a section of the city the designation report notes was once called the Yiddish Rialto. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. And I'll note that there is no one else in the hearing room to speak on this item, so I will turn it over to Stephen Thompson to see if we have any remote participants.
Those joining us via Zoom who wish to offer testimony, please use the raise hand function. Once called upon, you'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute yourself, state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Richard Moses. Richard, you may unmute yourself and turn on your camera should you wish.
Sorry about that. I should know this routine by now. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Richard Moses with the Lower East Side Preservation Initiative, also known as LESPI. We've reviewed this proposal, and we find it to be appropriate to both the building and the historic district. We support the marquee installation as being restorative to a historic period of the building, as shown in the 1940 tax photo. This fits in nicely with the many theaters currently operating on East 4th Street within the historic district. We find the new entrance door to be appropriate in terms of its configuration and panel construction, and have no objection to the patinated brass finish. Finally, in the interest of full disclosure, the project architect for this proposal, Gagandeep Singh at Studio Castellano, is on LESPI's board of directors and is a member of our Architectural Design Review Committee. However, he's recused himself from all involvement in our deliberations here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker will be Kaylee Johnson.
Hello, Commissioners. Kaylee Johnson with the Historic Districts Council. We find the majority of this proposal to be appropriate and a well-done restoration. We do wonder if the marquee is too large or should be lowered, as we find it to encroach on the restored arch. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sorry, my mic wasn't on. Anyone else joining us via Zoom who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 3 recommends approval.
All right, thank you. So would you like to respond to, I think the comments, the testimony was largely supportive. There was another question about the location, which I think you've already addressed, but if you'd like to say anything else, you're welcome to.
Sorry, what was the question about location?
There was one comment again about the height of it, and I think you did address that, but if you'd like to say anything else, you're welcome to.
I think it also, I think I would stick to my first answer that we are following what the elements were on the site, and to correspond with the anchors that are on the site as well is why the placement of the marquee is there. I think a bit lower or a bit higher might involve like the movement of the anchors and things like that, and it would be easy structurally going forward from here for the location to be in the place that it is.
All right, great. Commissioners, any final questions on this one? All right. So Commissioner Chu, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Quimby, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this is, as we've seen, an application to install a marquee where there was one historically. They are using the prior attachment points as their datum for the height and incorporating the gutters and the symmetrically placed tiebacks. Commissioner Wilder, would you like to start this one?
Yeah, I think I can appreciate the new door entrance. I like most of the elements, including the doors. I think it's an upgrade from how it originally looked. Also, the marquee I think is appropriate overall. Yeah, I don't have much. I think it's fine.
Okay, Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, I'd say that the request is pretty modest. Really support revitalizing this cultural event space, which was probably brought in as a change to the original building. And I think that the canopy is responding to something that was added at a later date. And I think there is maybe some thought that it may not be the most proportionally suitable canopy to this opening, but my feeling is the building is going through changes. It's gone through changes. This would incur probably the least physical harm to the existing wall and structure. I wouldn't want to alter that. And I think this is a relatively minimal attachment to the existing structure, so I can approve this.
Thank you, Commissioner Quimby.
Likewise, I find the approach to restoring the entryway to this building to be actually satisfying. Because of that,
All right, Vice Chair Master.
Yeah, this is a really nice little project. It's really restoring it to something that was there historically and endorsed by the Victorian Society. So I can find it appropriate.
Commissioner Goldblum.
I agree. I think it's appropriate. I kind of wish that the bottom of it had picked up above the arch crown, around the crown. And if that is feasible with the staff, I think that'd be a improvement, but I think it's okay as presented.
Okay, Commissioner Mann.
Yes, I think this is appropriate. That entrance is in awfully rough shape as it is today. I want to compliment the applicant on your careful skills of observation and the great presentation that you did today. I think this is very careful and entirely appropriate.
Okay, so I think we can make a motion to approve. Are you comfortable doing that, Commissioner Wilder? Okay.
Of LPC -24-11367, 82 East 4th Street, East Village, Lower East Side Historic District, a Romanesque revival style apartment building designed by Charles B. Myers and built in 1926. Application is to install marquee with signage and replace entrance infill. I note that the building style, scale, and materials and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the East Village, Lower East Side Historic District. I find that the proposed work will not damage or eliminate any significant architectural features, that the new entrance infill featuring a pair of single light doors and an arched transom will be in keeping with doors commonly found at entrances at buildings of this type, style, and age in terms of configuration, operation and details, and the patinated brass finish will not draw undue attention to itself. That historically there was a similar marquee at this location on the building as documented in historic photographs, and the new marquee will reuse existing tie-back anchors and will match the historic marquee in terms of scale, basic design, and placement, and will not overwhelm the building or streetscape. That the materiality of the marquee featuring patinated brass finish, metal framing and trim, and dark gray finished metal sign panels will be consistent with the materiality of historic marquees associated with entertainment establishments found throughout the historic district. That the signage at the marquee featuring changeable non-illuminated white finish acrylic lettering magnetically adhered to the dark gray sign panels will be well scaled to the building and will not result in excessive signage at the entrance, and that the proposed work will not detract from the special architectural and historic character of the building or the East Village / Lower East Side Historic District.
Thank you. And Commissioner Chu, would you second that motion?
Second.
Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Vice Chair Master.
Aye.
Commissioner Chu.
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum. Commissioner Ikwembe.
Aye.
Commissioner Mahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder.
Aye.
7 in favor, none opposed, the motion.
That's approved. Thank you. And we'll move to the next and final item.
Right, the last item is public hearing item number 7, LPC 26-00017, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 672, Lot 1, 601 West 26th Street, the Starrett Lehigh Building individual landmark, also in the West Chelsea Historic District. This is an international style warehouse building with Art Deco style details designed by Russell G. and Walter M. Corey with Yasuo Matsui and Purdy and Henderson, and built in 1930 to 31. The application is to establish a master plan for the future installation of signage.
Oh, yeah. And I'll just note that Commissioner Goldblum is recused on this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Julie Rosen from Higgins Quaisbarth and Partners. We're the preservation consultants on this project. I'm joined today by my colleague Esther Wagner, as well as the building owner, RXR, and the project architect, HLW. 601 West 26th Street, known as the Starrett Lehigh Building, was constructed in 1930. It covers the entire block between 26th and 27th Streets and 11th and 12th Avenues. And it originally served as a freight terminal for the railroad and had manufacturing and warehouse spaces above. The building has since been adaptively reused and turned into a modern office building with offices on the upper floors and a mix of retail and utility uses on the ground floor. The building is both an individual landmark and it's also located within the West Chelsea Historic District, and the large scale of the building in relation to the size of the historic district is clear in the map at right. The proposal before you today is for the establishment of a new office tenant signage master plan, which will be located at the ground floor of the 11th Avenue elevation. And I'm now going to hand it over to RXR to speak a little bit about the building's use and the goals of the new master plan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you. My name is Carly Auclair, and I'm a Senior Project Manager of Design with RXR. And we appreciate the chance to present this signage proposal and share the broader vision behind it. Since RXR acquired the property in 2012, Starrett Lehigh has continued its remarkable transformation from its origins as a manufacturing building into a dynamic creative campus and commercial anchor. Starrett Lehigh now operates as a mixed-use hub with a fully leased retail, expansive office spaces, and activated public amenities throughout the building. Through long-term ownership, substantial investment, and thoughtful upgrades to the building supports a vibrant, innovation-focused ecosystem. With the lease-up of the retail spaces, the launch of the Ollie Ollie Market, the expo space, level 10 amenities, and other major capital improvements, our focus has shifted towards the re-officing of the upper floors. As part of this effort, we're seeing increased demand from larger tenants who seek not only workspace, but who are also interested in visibility and brand identity. Signage plays a key role in supporting a prospective tenant's presence and elevating our leasing strategy. The proposed 11th Ave signage is carefully designed to address those needs while preserving the building's architectural integrity. And ultimately, our goal is to continue elevating Starrett Lehigh as the center of creative innovation, supporting its repositioning while helping to energize the neighborhood through new dynamic tenants who contribute to the broader community. Thank you again for your time and consideration, and I'll hand it back to Julie.
So we also have a building use diagram here. This is similar to the building use diagram that Carly just spoke to. Here we see kind of the stacked layout of the building with quite a bit of office space on the floors above. Looking at the ground floor plan here, there are a couple of primary building entries, one on 26th Street, but also one on 11th Avenue, which is where the majority of people enter the building. So it's very important to have identified 11th Avenue as the place where we are proposing new office tenant signage. So here we have a view of the existing condition on 11th Avenue with the building entrance in the foreground and the remainder of the northern portion of the facade behind. And then we have a proposed view on the right here with the proposed tenant signage included as well. As I noted, 11th Avenue is a main building entrance. A lot of pedestrian traffic approaches from the east, and so this view is meant to kind of give you a sense of this typical approach to the building. The proposed view includes 3 locations for new tenant signage. The idea is that these will be adjacent to the entrance so that they're clearly visible for visitors to the building and passersby. It's also intended to be well scaled to the building so that it does not overwhelm this very large building and the long facade. I do want to note that the signs will be installed on commission-approved architectural fin cladding, which covers a very long expanse of Con Ed louvers, which are again located at this northern portion of the elevation. The entrance and the fin wall are also located along this marquee, which is continuous along the 11th Avenue elevation and also turns the corner onto 27th Street. We have a couple of detailed photos here of that architectural cladding, which consists of painted aluminum fins. They're done in a kind of dual color scheme here. As I noted, there are Con Ed louvers behind the fins. You can actually see them a little bit more clearly in this left photo. And the fins are spaced accordingly to continue to allow ventilation. There are also some access doors integrated within the fin wall. We can see these in the horizontal cuts that are made in each vertical fin. So the signage proposal is not going to impact the functionality of the louvers, and the installation method has been specifically designed to allow for continued operability of those doors. I do want to also point out that there is integrated lighting in the canopy. There's a strip light fixture as well as some individual downlights as well. So we're not proposing any new illumination with the signage proposal. Historically, the building had a variety of large sign installations at the avenue elevations. I'd like to particularly call your attention to the right photo, which is a historic view of the 11th Avenue facade. There was historically very large signage at both the ground and second floors. Every elevation of this building is activated in some way, and there have been a variety of signage types and locations approved over the last several years to provide building identification and to support the various interior uses at the ground floor. All of these were part of the building's adaptive reuse and did not exist historically. The approved sign types, which are shown on this slide, include building identification signage, which is located on canopies throughout the building. There's also facade signage, which has been approved for the 12th Avenue facade and will be installed this fall. There's also a market at the ground floor, and so there's also market signage, which is located on the 26th Street frontage. In addition to that, there is a master plan established for retail signage at the ground floor as well. And the size and scale of the building can clearly support a lot of signage. None of the signage is overwhelming to the building currently, but does again support all of the various uses that are happening inside. What is also clear from this is that there are no signage locations for upper floor tenants. And so that is what our current proposal is seeking to do. We also looked at other recent approvals in the historic district. Of particular note is the recent signage master plan approval granted for Terminal Warehouse, which is located just across the street from the Starrett Lehigh building. Terminal warehouse was also an adaptive reuse project of a full block building, and the master plan included a variety of signage types which supported both building identification and a variety of retail uses on the ground floor. The master plan was recently amended earlier this year to add additional signage locations for upper floor tenants, specifically on 12th Avenue. So coming back to Stare at Lehigh, the proposed tenant signage master plan consists of a number of very intentional design decisions to ensure that the signage is well scaled to the building while also providing the necessary visual presence for tenants. We have the parameters outlined on the left, which I'll review for you quickly. The signage, as I noted, will be limited to the 11th Avenue facade. It is only going to be installed on the LPC approved architectural fins. There is a maximum of 3 office tenant signs that will be allowed on this facade. That number has been very specifically determined by RXR. They're happy to provide more clarity on that if anyone has questions, but that is a very specific number that has been determined. Each sign will not exceed 15 inches in height. They'll also be made of 1/4 inch pin-mounted aluminum characters with a white finish. So the white finish is set. Signs may include logos or text in tenant-specific fonts. The signage may be 1 or 2 lines, but again, whether or not it's 1 or 2 lines, it still cannot exceed that maximum 15-inch height. And as I noted earlier, the signs will be non-illuminated. There's already illumination provided in the canopy. We are not adding any more lighting. We have an overall elevation drawing here showing you the proposed sign location within the context of the overall 11th Avenue ground floor facade. I did want to note that the total length of the fin wall on 11th Avenue is over 88 feet. It's 88 feet 7 inches, just to be exact, and the designated signage area only covers the southernmost 18 feet. It's actually quite limited in scale overall. We have an enlarged elevation here on the left, which shows the proposal in more detail. It also more clearly shows the locations of those Con Ed access doors that are integrated into the fin wall. We're proposing, again, a maximum of 3 signs. They'll be inset from the southern edge of the fin wall, and all of the vertical and horizontal spacings that are shown in this detail are actually set, and they are part of the master plan. So the top sign will be held 3 foot 6 inches off the southernmost edge of the fin wall. Bottom sign will be held approximately 3 foot 6 inches off the sidewalk. And then we also have maximum sign lengths, which are noted in the elevation. Those range from 11 feet 2 inches to 14 feet 6 inches. The individual letters will be pin mounted to the aluminum fins, and this installation method was chosen specifically to ensure continued access to the Con Ed space. That's why we're not proposing letters on a raceway. We actually need them to be individually mounted to allow those doors to still swing open. And then we also have a proposed section on the right, just showing the location of the new signage on the fin wall under the existing canopy. And if you enlarge details, this gives you a little bit more information about the installation methodology. And the 1/4 inch painted metal letters will be pin mounted directly onto the projecting portions of the fins. The great part about this proposal is that no historic fabric is going to be impacted by this in any way. It's also not anticipated that there is going to be much tenant turnover here, but just in case, the project team has been in contact with the fin manufacturer to ensure that any repairs can be done seamlessly if a sign is removed, and that recommended methodology is included here at the bottom of the slide. Finally, we have an existing and proposed view from across 11th Avenue. This shows the signage proposal in the full context of the ground floor. The proposed signage is modestly scaled in relation to this primary elevation, and it does not impact the overall reading of the building. The design is also in keeping with the variety of other signage types approved throughout the building, and the white finish is specifically consistent with the other signage that this commission has approved. The signage provides much needed visibility and identification for upper floor tenants, which is so important in helping Stare at Lehigh remain a viable office building. So thank you very much, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Wilder, followed by Commissioner Chu.
I am curious to know how you determine the maximum amount of signs, the design, as well as what happens if there's a desire for more signs from new tenants. Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm actually going to have RXR answer that one.
Okay. Also, how do you accommodate the name of a specific business that may not fit within those 7 letters? Or like, are they limited to the width that you're proposing?
So for the number of signs, we arrived at 3, understanding that there would be a minimum square footage that a tenant would be looking to lease, which would be 150,000 square feet. So we felt with that, 3 would accomplish to address the vacancy while still maintaining, we would be able to attract more than 1, but there would be no intent to add more after the 3 were there.
I can speak to question about the length of the sign. So right, so the tenant A, B, C are just placeholders. So what we've established a maximum zone, which extends to 18 feet from the southernmost end of the fin wall. So no sign can extend past the 18-foot mark. And there's also a maximum sign length per sign based on the insets that have been established. So any company sign just needs to fit within this kind of box that's bounded by the dashed line for every sign.
So essentially, it could be a different configuration than how it is now if we maxed out each.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So, right, because every company sign could be a different font, it may be a slightly different size, length, spacing of characters, exactly. So as long as they're fitting within that box, so the maximum length and the maximum height of the 15 inches, the idea would be that they can kind of fill that however they want.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chu?
Is this illuminated the underside of the canopy in the evening?
Yes.
So there's downlight or grazers of some kind?
Show.
I'm sorry if I missed that.
No. Yeah, so there's a strip underside of the canopy here now.
Right.
And then there are also some small kind of pin downlights as well. So it's kind of a light amount of illumination, but it will be enough that the signage will still be visible in the evening.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, let's see if we have any public testimony. I'll note that there is no one in the room to speak on this item, so I will turn it over to Stephen to see if we have any remote participants.
Those joining us via Zoom who wish to offer testimony, please use the raise hand function. Okay, seeing none, I will note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 4 recommends approval on the condition that LPC exclude brand logos from the revised signage master plan.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to address that?
Thank you. Yeah, so we were very happy that the community board was supportive of the application. There was quite a bit of discussion about the inclusion of logos. It is very, very important for the specific companies that RXR is looking to lease space in the building. And I'm going to have Carly from RXR come back up and just provide a little bit more context.
Okay.
For the logos themselves, as we're talking about the square footage that a tenant of this size who's interested in the signage opportunity would be looking for, to have that brand recognition, that corporate identity that they're looking to showcase, we would like to offer that opportunity to them.
Okay, and I guess I would say that also when we approve master plans for signage and we have sort of placeholder letters, we often allow for logos and or different fonts and colors as well to have brand identity. Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? All right, we'll move to our discussion. Commissioner Chu, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Quembe, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the hearing is closed. And so we have approved a variety of signs on this building, given its enormous size at this full block long. I think we have approved a variety of signs, but because the building is so big and you don't see them all in connection with each other, we have found them to be appropriate. And so this is looking at the 11th Avenue side of the building where they're proposing some tenant signage on this commission-approved fin wall, not historic fabrics. Commissioner or Vice Chair Master, would you lead this one?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, this is very exciting. I think that their proposal in terms of signage is very modest, given the scale of the building and even the length of this fin wall, which is, I think, 88 feet. So we're limiting it to 18 feet, and that maximum height of each sign is, I think, 15 inches. So, in addition, I think the signs are not, the letters are non-illuminated. So it's a very modest, um, modest and modest request and a very clean look, I think, for this building. Um, there was a discussion about the logo, whether the logo should be allowed. I think that when you're leasing to a company that would take 150,000 square feet, typically the company has a logo associated with the name and the title. So I think allowing that within the confines of the space is a reasonable request. So I think that this is a very appropriate proposal.
Thank you. Commissioner Mann.
I concur. This is quite modest for the scale of the building, or entirely appropriate, I would say. And the presentation was incredibly detailed. There's no gray area left. So
Thank you. Commissioner Wilder.
I think it's appropriate.
Commissioner Chu.
Agreed, appropriate and a handsome graphic design.
Commissioner Quimby.
Yes, I agree. It's very appropriate.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement. Vice Chair Master, would you make the motion?
Yeah. In the matter of LPC-26-00017, 601 West 26th Street, the Starrett Lehigh Building individual landmark in the West Chelsea Historic District. The application is to establish a master plan for the future installation of signage. I note that the building style, scale, materials, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the West Chelsea Historic District. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work will not damage, eliminate, or obscure any significant architectural features, that the non-illuminated white painted metal letters will be simply designed, typical in terms of material, and installed at modern architectural fins at the 11th Avenue facade, which features limited, existing, and proposed signage. That the white painted metal letters will be limited to a portion of modern architectural features adjacent to an entrance, which is typical of signage in terms of placement. That the establishment of a master plan will provide for a unified treatment of signage at this location over time, and that the cumulative effect of this work in conjunction with the other signage types at the building will not overwhelm this large industrial building when seen from public thoroughfares and will support the continued adaptive reuse of this warehouse.
Thank you, Commissioner Mann. Would you second that motion?
second.
Thank you. Mark, will you call the vote?
Chair Carroll,
Aye.
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Ikwembe,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder.
Aye.
7 in favor and none opposed, the motion passes.
That's approved. Thank you. And that concludes our public hearing and public meeting for today, August 5th. And we will see everybody next Tuesday, August 12th for our public hearing.